here we are inside Left Hand Brewing Company's fermentation room. I figured what better place to tell you about the brewing process than inside an actual brewery. As you can tell by all this equipment, there's a lot of science going on here, but it's also still an art, so there's still something to be said about loving your craft and enjoying what you do. So no matter what type of system you're using, whether it's a direct draw, whether it's a jockey box or a long draw system, there's some key components that always need to be the same. These are in stainless steel containers that are being heated by steam on the outside, and that's how we change the temperature inside the mash tun. And we need to change that temperature to make those enzymes work. But we can also do what's called a decoction mash. What a decoction mash is, this liquid at this point is called wort. W-O-R-T. And what wort is essentially syrup. Now, it's not as thick as a maple syrup you might use at home, but it's sugar water. It's just that the sugar has been obtained from barley. Let's start with intensity. Intensity is by far the most important thing when you're pairing beer with food. You need to make sure you match intensity with intensity. So what I mean by that is you don't want the beer to overshadow the food that you're eating, and you don't want the food to wash out the beer that you're drinking. And each state was given the right to decide how they wanted to make this system work best for them. And what most states decided was that they needed a wholesaler that was owned by a separate entity. If you want to put it in some oak barrels or some bourbon barrels, and you're seeing this more and more in today's marketplace, these wood barrel aged beer. You want to become a certified Cicerone, this is just some vital information for you to know to be able to pass that exam. What's important, what you should focus on in your studying, and so. Temperature, maybe the most important thing to consider when you're purchasing beer. And the reason I say that is very few things affect beer as much as temperature, specifically how much that temperature changed. Resistance that comes from gravity is called static resistance. The resistance that's coming from your components is called dynamic resistance. That's obviously because it can change depending on how you set up your components. So you may be asking yourself, just who is this guy? Why should I learn anything about beer from him? Well, I've been in the beer industry about 10 years now. I actually started brewing when I was 18 years old, home brewing obviously. Got a job as a professional brewer once I was 21, and was a professional brewer for about 5 years, most recently at Alaskan Brewing Company. After that, I decided I wanted to change of pace, went down to Phoenix and sold beer for a distributor. Got to see the distribution side, learned a lot there. Wrote about beer for a beer magazine, became a certified beer judge, and I also became a certified Cicerone. Most recently, I was the chief beer officer for 4 Points by Sheridan. During that time, I saw the retail side and really, why people were drinking beer in a bar. All of that experience really gave me a good perspective on the entire beer industry and why we need to know more about it. I mean, the beer industry, especially the craft beer industry, is changing and it's so dynamic. There's so many new styles being presented every day, that to truly be a good salesman, to be an effective bartender or a sales rep for a distributor, we need to know the ins and outs about beer and just exactly why people like it and why it's so popular. Hopefully we can portray some of that to you in the next few DVDs. Enjoy!